Welcome. I'm Archie Wright, the Executive Director of CBA, and we are here at the Annual General Meeting. And today we have the privilege of interviewing Patrick Alemayo, and this is Patrick's first Annual General Meeting in person. And Patrick is a recent PhD graduate in 2024, and today we are talking about his dissertation, which is titled Ethnic Diversity and Inclusion in Luke Acts, Analyzing Luke's Hellenistic Jewish Christ-Believing Theology. So Patrick, I want to welcome you today. It's good to have you here.
Thank you, Archie.
We're looking forward to the conversation. So Patrick, we have three very simple questions just to learn a little bit more about your work. And we're going to start off with just give us a brief summary about what the central idea or the focus of the volume is, and just so that our viewers can understand what your work is about.
Thank you, Archie, for having me. My work, Ethnic Diversity and Inclusion in Luke Acts, Analyzing Luke's Hellenistic Jewish Christ-Believing Theology, argues that from a literary perspective, with attention to ethnic reasoning and the Greco-Roman context of late 1st and early 2nd centuries, that Luke's implied audience is an ethnically diverse and inclusive Christ-believing group. It argues that as against the contrast between universality and Jewish particularity, that Luke's Christ-believing audience are interested in continued interest in Jewish things.
Okay.
Some were diaspora Jews, but others were also Greeks and Romans. And the diaspora Jews were interested in Gentile devout themes, and the Gentile Christ believers were also interested in Jewish practices.
Okay.
I used 10 key pericopes, 6 in the Gospel of Luke and 4 in the Acts of the Apostles, to argue out my point from a literary perspective.
Great. Sounds really interesting, Patrick. Thank you. So our second question, how does the book reflect on the history of scholarship in the book's respective field?
Thank you, Archie. The book reflects on 3 aspects of the history of scholarship. The first being Luke's portrait of God's salvation, and the second is ethnicity, and the third is the connection between ethnicity and universality and inclusivity.
Oh, okay.
It acknowledged that there were some scholars. There is the difference between the approaches of salvation history and practical apologetic. And for some of those scholars, including Jack Sanders, Robert Tannehill, Ernst Henchen, they argue that this salvation history implies in Luke a discontinuity in things Jewish. I identified a gap and felt that that portrait has not giving enough attention to the relationship between ethnicity and inclusivity in biblical scholarship.
Great.
And that was what prompted the work that I did.
Great. That sounds like a good gap to chase after. Thank you. Our third question, so how would the book be helpful to those in the faith community or religious leaders or academics in the classroom?
The book is first and foremost academic, and so there is the argument that the idea of replacement theology is untenable, but rather when we think about Luke Acts, that Luke Acts builds and develops a cosmopolitan Jewish Christ-believing theology. And that doesn't mean that the universality that we find that includes Gentiles negates Jewish practices.
Right.
I also conclude that it is important to pay attention not only to the narrative theology, but also to give attention to the social context of the text and of the audience, and also to give attention to the identity of the characters in the text.
Sure. Great. It sounds like a really interesting piece of work, Patrick. I really appreciate you being here today. So there you have it, people. Look for Patrick's work coming soon to some publisher's table. Ethnic Diversity and Inclusion in Luke Acts, Analyzing Luke's Hellenistic Jewish Christ-Believing Theology. So Patrick, thanks for being here today. And we really appreciate it. And we wish you all the best.
Josh.
And thanks for being part of CBA. Thank you.
My pleasure.